first and foremost, a lawn renovation, when we're talking about a lawn renovation, basically what we're talking about is removing as much of the lawn as possible without the need to re-turf. So what you're doing is you're essentially, it's a way to improve poor quality turf and rejuvenate neglected lawn, but it's also a good way to maintain a really high quality lawn as well. So the steps involved in a lawn renovation, and these are the steps that I sort of follow, is 1, preparation. 2 would be scalping or cutting low. 3 would be dethatching or verticutting. 4 would be core aerating, and then your final step really is top dressing. That is an optional step, I'll talk about that later. And then I would also add one more step in at the end, and that's what I call the insurance policy. The only real thing that you can sort of do to prepare for a lawn renovation, if you've been following on my channel, I'm at this stage currently, in the preparation stage. Weed control, that is the main one. So if you have weeds growing in your lawn, you want to get them now. Reason being, once you actually do your lawn renovation and your lawn is repairing and you've fertilized it, the only thing that you want to recover is your lawn. You don't want the weeds to be coming back up through. I go into much more detail about the weed control aspect in the next episode. So as I said, that's the step that I'm up to. I've only just sprayed this lawn a couple of days ago for weeds. So the best way to prepare and to know when you can actually do your lawn renovation is by checking your weather app. So you want to have a look at the forecast, and you want to look at the sum of the daily minimum and maximum temperatures, and you basically want to see days that equate to 36 degrees Celsius or above, and you want that consistently. So you don't just want one day where the combined temperatures are 36 degrees, you want a couple of days in a row, and then that's how you know the soil temperatures are also high enough that it will repair and regrow quickly. So scalping is all about basically giving your lawn a buzz cut. So you're taking as much off the lawn as possible. Now it does depend what turf type you have. If you have blue couch, green couch, kikuyu, you can take it down to dirt. Like actually you can take it down to 0 to nothing, okay? And your lawn will like it. Treat it mean, keep it green. What you shouldn't do that to though is buffalo. And I'll go into why shortly. But the other turf type to look at is zoysia or zoysia. Depends who you're speaking to and how they pronounce it. But it is far slower to repair than a couch lawn. So if you've got zoysia, you can still take it low. I probably wouldn't take it down to dirt though. You're gonna be waiting a very long time for it to recover. And I think you're just sort of opening yourself up to have some bare patches. When it comes to buffalo, now buffalo have above ground runners called stolons. What buffalo doesn't have that a lot of the other turf types have are subsurface runners. So when you're cutting couch right down, the reason it can repair is it's got these subsurface runners or rhizomes underneath the soil that will rejuvenate and replenish and keep growing turf. Buffalo doesn't have that. So if you've got something like Sir Walter, you cannot cut that as low. You should not be as aggressive because what it's got, those lateral runners above ground, that's how it grows. And if you're going to remove all of those, it doesn't have the ability to rejuvenate and repair. So just be careful with a buffalo lawn. Next step in the process is dethatching. So first and foremost, what is thatch? It's a mixture of sort of dead and living material, dead decaying material that's basically lives beneath the canopy of your turf, okay? So when you're dethatching, what you're doing is you're vertically cutting, dethatching or verticutting, you're vertically going through and you're sort of combing out all of that thatch and all of that dead matter. Now the reason you want to do that is because the thatch is preventing things from things like air, water and nutrients from getting down into the soil or near the roots of the plant, and that's obviously what it needs to stay healthy. So thatch is a pretty standard thing to have in a lawn, but excess thatch is not a good thing, so you want to remove it. When you're dethatching or verticutting or scarifying even a lawn, scarifying usually goes a bit deeper, it goes subsurface. Just be aware of those lawn types that you basically need to keep those runners. So buffalo, don't go as aggressive obviously. Zoysia, you can go a bit more aggressive, and then cooch and kikuyu, go for your life. The reason that you core aerate in springtime is you want to actually core aerating actually takes plugs of soil out of the ground. What you'll be left with is a surface with a bunch of holes in it. That is a perfect time to put any soil amendment products down. So if you've done, say, pH testing, your soil is acidic or alkaline, that is the time to put those products in, because you know they're going to get down to the root zone. Same thing if you've got heavy clay soil, add some gypsum in there, that type of thing. If your soil is in need of more organics, that is why we core aerate before we top dress, because now any product that you add now will go directly down to the root zone. So the next step, and it is sort of optional, you don't have to do a spring renovation and top dress, but top dressing. Okay, top dressing is just a material that you bring in, and it usually has one of two functions, or can do both at the same time. So the first reason that you would want to bring in top dress is because you want to bring in new material to change up your soil profile. The other reason people top dress is simply to level their yard. So first of all, you need to figure out why you're top dressing, and then that will determine what you top dress with. So if you are top dressing in order to level your yard, best thing you can use is sand, okay? The only tip I would give for that is make sure you use a washed pit sand. Reason being, it's obviously been washed, so it's weed free, it's fairly uniform in particle size. Sand is also just really easy to work with in terms of leveling. So sand would be the best thing to top dress with if you're just wanting to level your yard. If you're wanting to add some more amendments or some more organics, there's a couple of different top dress blends on the market. Just do some research and look into it, and remember, don't just do what everyone else is doing, do what actually suits you and your lawn and what your lawn needs. Up in Southeast Queensland, we're pretty lucky because there's quite a few suppliers around that have a USGA sand blend that's also got a product like Amend Max that has soil amendments in it. There's also some blends that have a USGA spec sand with chicken manure, and it's pasteurized chicken manure, so there's no weed seeds in it. So we're really lucky, but I'm aware that those types of products aren't available everywhere. The other thing I did want to mention is USGA sand just means that it's a specific particle size that needs to be used on a golf course. So it could be overkill for a home lawn. I mean, if you're cutting super, super low, then sure, go for your life. But just have a look at the price tag. As I said, we're pretty lucky here that USGA sand's actually pretty comparable in price to wash pit sand, so it sort of makes sense to go the certified product. So the final step that I have, and my sort of takeaway tip for today's episode, is now we've come to the part that I like to call the insurance policy. So that's to make sure that you don't have weeds come up through your top dress, to make sure that your lovely lawn isn't going to get eaten away by lawn grubs or anything like that. So what I apply now that I've got the top dress out, I get out my Acelepryn lawn grub control. So that controls lawn grubs and black beetles for 6 months. Super safe product. There is another variant available at Bunnings, does the same thing. I'll put them up here, down there, in the description, wherever. The other product I apply now is a pre-emergent weed control. So that will stop weeds coming up, depending on which one you go with, for 3 to 6 months also. So those are products like Barricade, Spartan and Ronstar or Oxipro. So those products would go down now as well. A lot of those are actually compatible as a tank mix, so it's a really nice way to get all those products down in the one hit. The other thing that I add in now is my soil wetter. So not only is that going to obviously help hold on to the water in the soil, but it also helps those products distribute down into the soil evenly as well. I apply them after top dressing, and here's why. Because I don't really see the point in applying them before you're going to top dress and core aerate, because you're just about to poke heaps of holes in the ground, potentially take that material away, and then bring in new material. So you're going to have a bit of an inconsistent barrier left if you applied it prior to it. That's just my opinion, and that's probably if someone's doing a really heavy renovation. So that's why I prefer to apply those products after the fact. It means I know that I have a really uniform barrier for those products, which in my mind would make them more effective. The only thing I would say about that though is you also don't want to miss your window for applying your pre-emergent weed control. So if the choice is basically between, oh, you're going to miss the window, then yeah, you probably do need to apply them beforehand to make sure that you're going to stop those weeds germinating. All right, so the only other thing is after you top dress, just remember you have just knocked your lawn about something chronic. So it is going to be pretty weak. It is going to be trying to repair. You need to sort of baby it along in terms of watering it, keeping the water up to it. I water every second day after a lawn renovation. Once it's sort of recovered and it's coming up through the top dress material, that's when I would back my watering back off and go back to my usual schedule at spring, summertime. And for me, that's watering once a fortnight. I know lots of people water once a week. Good for you, go ahead. I sort of like to starve my lawn from water so it doesn't get too used to it. So once a fortnight for me, you do you. I just also want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who's contributed some of their lawn renovation photos and everything to this episode as well. I think it's made a really great visual guide for people to follow, depending on what different turf types they have. Everyone's got their own little hints and tips and tricks and the way that they do things, but I thought it was really great that for those people to allow me to use those photos, so thank you very much. All right guys, that's it for today, so see you next week on Lawn Care Australia.